Hey everybody, Ed Homewood, Old Guy Hi-Fi channel. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today should be an interesting little review. I'm going to be talking about the SMSL PA200 gallium nitride power amp. So sit back, relax, and I'll get started on the review of this amp. Well, before we get started, big shout out to the folks at APOS Audio. They were kind enough to send this unit in for me to review. Now, there are no strings attached, so all of my opinions and my thoughts are my own. But if you're interested, just so you know, in full disclosure, there will be an affiliate link to this product in the pinned comment and in the video description. And again, thanks to APOS Audio for providing the unit for review. So what is the SMSL PA200? Well, it's a gallium nitride based power amplifier that sells for $419. It is rated at 85 watts into 8 ohms in stereo mode because it can be run in mono, 160 watts by 2 into 4 ohms, or 250 watts into 8 ohm mono, or 400 watts into 4 ohm mono. Has some good specifications. I'll put them up there. This is a really interesting device. I've done some other, and I have a bunch of these advanced gallium nitrate transistorized based amplifiers in, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, but this is a pretty basic unit. It is an amp only. It only has a single line input on RCA, so it's not an integrated amp, but it has a remote control. It has a remote control and a volume control, so I'm a little bit confused. If it's just going to be an amp, why have a volume control? If it's going to be an integrated, why not have an additional line in or a sub out or something like that? But I will tell you, this worked really well on a desktop. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the front panel and the menu system. We're going to spin it around and look at the back, and I'm going to show you some neat LEDs on the speaker binding post. We're going to open it up, look inside, and then I'll come back and share with you how I used it, some of the music I used, and then of course give you my final thoughts. Well, here we are looking at the front panel of the SMSL PA200 gallium nitride power amp. It does have a remote control, which you can see here. I'm going to be using it for some of the functions. Right now it's just showing its volume display. I can obviously adjust that up or down with the remote control. To get into the menu system, this knob is multifunction. So you push it once and it brings up the menu mode. Now I'm going to reconfigure and zoom in on that for you. Well, here we are looking at the menu. I'm going to actually use the remote control to scroll through these different functions. So in amp mode, it is volume control on, so you'd use it kind of like an integrated amp. You can use it just as a stereo amp, no volume control, or you can set it up to use it as a mono amplifier with no volume control. So let's go back. Now, dimmer is obviously how often or when the display turns off. You can go 5 seconds, whatever you want there. I don't really use that. Then display brightness, and that you can adjust, you can adjust that down if you wish to, obviously, to reduce the light output. I liked it brighter personally. And then of course we've got reset, which sets everything back to the factory settings. So that's really it for the menu of the SMSL PA200 amplifier. Let's look at the back and then we'll crack it open. Well, here we are looking at the back panel of the PA200. We have a line in on single-ended. We have an XLR input, but that is for a mono input only. So for stereo, you'd be using these two. Our binding post for speakers, obviously, IEC power socket, and master power switch. Other than that, pretty straightforward on the back. So let's take a look inside. Before we take a full look at the back end of the unit, what I wanted to show you is you'll notice that there are LED lights behind the binding post. Right now there's no speakers connected. I've got it set up, let me spin it around real quick. I've got it set up in amp only mode, so there's no volume control, so it's just basically a power amplifier. And I think these are flashing to indicate that there's nothing connected to them. Well, here we are looking at the inside of the PA200, and underneath this cover, and I'm just going to go ahead and move it real quick, that is what SMSL calls a high quality, high power audio grade switching power supply. What's interesting is it's almost dual mono in its configuration. Again, this can produce some good power. It certainly can produce some good power in stereo and mono. Now, over on this side, you'll see these two little PC boards. They're raised up off the main board, and I don't know if you can tell, it says A and B. If I can, I'll insert a picture of that just so you know what it is. Underneath there is are each of the 4 gallium nitride field effect transistor. So you have basically a push-pull configuration for each channel. So a very traditional kind of push-pull layout, but obviously using GAN FET technology. Now, they don't need big heat sinks. This is a switch mode, or a Class D switching amplifier, and it switches at such a high speed, 1 megahertz, that it doesn't require a ton of power. It doesn't create a ton of heat. It's just very efficient. And of course, this thing can get pretty powerful in mono. So anyway, that's a look inside the PA200. Let's button it up. Let me tell you about some of the music I used. I'll share my final thoughts, and we'll get out of here. Well, for this particular review, I used my playlist, Old Guy Hi-Fi Test Tracks Volume 1, and I've added a bunch of tracks to it, but there's some really good stuff on there. And I just want to talk about a couple of individual songs. I'm not going to go into big, long albums. So the first one I'm going to recommend is this song from ZZ Ward called Put the Gun Down. This is an absolutely awesome rocking tune. It is really good. Now, ZZ Ward is an American singer-songwriter. She's really known for her distinctive vocal styling. You'll hear it in there, kind of the way she enunciates words and things like that. She kind of combines blues rock, R&B, hip hop, soul. There are some tracks where she works with rap artists on. It's really interesting. She started playing in her father's blues band when she was like 12 or 14 years old. And so that kind of really shaped this very kind of unique, eclectic style that she has. Really interesting. I find her completely interesting. A lot of her songs are really good. She came to my attention from a Lindsey Sterling song, and I can't remember the name of it. If I can find it, I'll put it down here. And then my daughter turned me on to her, and she's got this amazing, just really cool delivery, really good bluesy sort of very soulful voice, really amazing. So Put the Gun Down came off her, it was the debut single off her 2012 album, Till the Casket Drops. And it showcases her ability, I think, to intertwine kind of really gritty, really, I don't know, kind of dive bar blues with some modern pop and really cool soul elements. That whole album is really, really good. So this song is a tale of jealousy, a tale of rivalry with, ZZ Ward portraying a woman confronting another woman named Adeline who is trying to steal her man. It's really an interesting song with some interesting kind of visuals, in the lyrics and metaphors and things like that. There's a lot of vivid imagery. There's a lot of, I just think, really cool, ways of thinking of things. And she uses the phrase, put the gun down, symbolizing her attempt to kind of de-escalate the situation. So it is a great album. I really, really encourage you to listen to this and then dig into her discography. ZZ Ward is really a talented person. So let's talk about the next track that I used off this playlist. Well, the next track I want to talk about is probably from the guitarist with the fastest hands on the planet Earth. I'm talking about Al Di Meola and this track Mediterranean Sundance off his 1977 album Elegant Gypsy. This is a marvelous track, and I'll talk about it a little bit. If you're not familiar with Al Di Meola, he's an American guitarist, and he is celebrated for having this amazing virtuosity, having amazing speed in his hands and his ability to play the guitar. And he really has this great talent of being able to kind of mix and match and mash up jazz and rock and flamenco and world music and blues and all this stuff and really make it work together. Now, he rose to prominence in the 70s as a member of Chick Corea's group, Return to Forever, which was an amazing group. I've used some Romantic Warrior, one of the Return to Forever albums, in some other reviews. And so he got his, that's where he got his, people became aware of him, people became aware of his talent. So after he left Return to Forever, he embarked on a very successful solo career, releasing critically acclaimed albums such as Land of the Midnight Sun and, of course, this one, Elegant Gypsy. His work is characterized by these very complex compositions, really rapid-fire guitar solos, and a seamless blend of really diverse musical influences. Like I said, the flamenco, the Latin, the Mediterranean rhythms, really interesting. So Mediterranean Sundance has actually been recorded a couple of times. Now, this one featured on Elegant Gypsy is a real standout, and it is a duet with Al Di Meola and Paco de Lucia, that's how you pronounce it, and they appear together in a song on another album. I'll talk about that in a second. So it's composed in E minor it's set in 4/4 time, but the piece showcases the dramatic interplay of jazz fusion of flamenco styles and these two counterpoint working off each other. Paco de Lucia and Demiola, they have some synergy. They have some simpatico between the two of them, and it's just amazing. So this track, Mediterranean Sundance, is renowned for its technical complexity, requiring really exceptional speed, and you'll get to hear Al Demiola's hands, and precision from both guitars. So the techniques include tremolo picking, hammer-ons, pull-offs, and intricate finger picking. They're all employed to create this really rhythmic soundscape. Now, the two of them got together in another album that came out called Friday Night in San Francisco, and it was Al Demiola, Paco de Lucia, and John McLaughlin, if you remember, from the Mahavishnu Orchestra and Miles Davis's band and all kinds of other stuff. Those three guitars together in that album are excellent. So after you check out Mediterranean Sundance off Elegant Gypsy, you got to go look at Friday Night in San Francisco. So that's this track. Let's move on to the next one. Well, for the next track, and I feel bad I haven't included this artist before in the past, it is Tom Petty, Free Falling, off his album, Full Moon Fever. This is an amazing song. It's an amazing album. He's an amazing artist. We're all going to miss him since his passing. He is really interesting guy in that he's known for a very distinctive vocal style, without question, some really amazing songwriting and lyrics, and just some wonderful poetic kind of lyricism in his lyrics. Just a very creative, very talented songwriter. And obviously he has this kind of rootsy, guitar-driven sound, really great. And of course, Tom Petty Band was huge in the 70s, and that's where he moved, and then he moved on solo stuff. His music has this ability to blend rock and blues and kind of southern rock, kind of the Allman Brothers or Alabama even a little bit, into this kind of emotionally resonant music that, again, with these amazingly, heartfelt, well thought out, wonderfully crafted lyrics. The songs are beautiful. It really is. His stuff is amazing, and this is one of my favorite tracks, and that's why I chose it. So it came off the 1989 album, Free Falling, and it was the opening song on the album, and I just think it was wonderful. Now, the interesting thing is it was co-written with Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne. Jeff Lynne was ELO, and of course, the two of them joined up again with George Harrison and Roy Orbison for the Traveling Wilburys group. So the song pairs real simple, soaring melody and lyrics that kind of evoke this, wide open feeling of Southern California, which is, where it all takes place. So the story, the lyrics, the song itself tells the story of a man who lets go of love and stability in favor of restless freedom. So he's talking about images of boulevards and bad boys and broken hearts and Elvis and freeways running through people's yards. And it's got this kind of laid back feel to it. It's just, the choruses are wonderful. It's just a really, really great song. I encourage you guys, and I would imagine almost all of you are familiar with Tom Petty, give his discography a listen. This album, Full Moon Fever, is absolutely magical without any question. So that's the music I use. Let me talk about how I tested it, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. Well, as you saw in the B-roll, I use this mostly on the desktop, and I'll explain why. This is a very nice amplifier, given its price point limitations and design criteria. If it is just an amp, it doesn't need a volume control or a remote control. Yeah, it can come in handy if you're using this and then maybe you're running from a DAC into this. Now what I did, and you might have saw it in the B-roll, I have an Apos Gremlin headphone amp. I have a Gishelli J2S DAC, and I can run out of the Gishelli DAC line out into this and balanced out into the Gremlin, so I can use it for headphone use. So in that instance, this worked okay. I don't really need the remote control because it's on my desktop. Let's say you were doing a second small system, I think there's a limitation in that this only has a single line in. If you're just going to do a DAC and you want an amp and a pair of speakers, this is a great choice. Sonically, it's excellent. It's very good. It is very, very neutral and detailed. There really isn't a lot of warmth to it, but it depends on how you pair it with speakers. I've been running it with the acoustic quality Labrador speakers you see here, and that's a nice combination. They're not the easiest thing in the world to drive, so this is a good amp for that. I wouldn't recommend trying to put a big pair of tower speakers on it or anything. It's $419. If you stay in and around that sub $700 price range for speakers, I think you're going to do really well. Now, I don't think I could recommend pairing this with Sony CSS or whatever, the SS5s, the ones that everybody loves a lot. I don't think it's a good match. I think that would be a little strident, a little bright. I will tell you it performed very well with the Philharmonic True Mini monitors. It performed really well with the ELAC BS53s. That was a really good combination. And now you're talking about a sub $1,000 amp and speaker setup, even with the Philharmonics, although the ELACs will have a little more bass. You add a good, maybe like an SMSL SU1 DAC or something like that into the mix, or a little inexpensive, a Weem. I wouldn't, maybe a Weem Ultra or something, or a Weem, maybe a Weem Ultra or a Weem Pro or whatever the two top-end Weem streamers. I wouldn't recommend a Mini on this because the DAC stinks. But those would be a great combination for a nice little compact system, either on your desktop or in a second room, bedroom, little, intimate little listening area. I really like this amp. I think this is honestly a better value, better kind of execution and price point than its bigger brother, the one that I just reviewed, the PA, I think it's the PA-X from SML. That was a really well-built amp as well, but I think at $419, this kind of hits a sweet spot. Sonically, this is going to be the match of really anything in and around its price point. Yes, it lacks inputs and DACs and things like that you might find on like the entry-level Yamaha or an entry-level Onkyo or Sony stereo receiver. I think this sonically is better than those. Yes, it's got some handicaps with a lack of inputs and things like that, but sonically, which is really what I care about, this actually performed quite well. So I can heartily recommend this for desktop system, which is the way I've been using it, a small second system where you got a nice set of bookshelf speakers and a decent set of bookshelf speakers, and add a little DAC headphone amp or something along those lines. Like the VO K11 R2R would be a nice match with this as well. I think you give you a really good sound system. So anyway, that is the SMSL PA200 GAN FET amplifier. Thumbs up. Well, again, I'd like to thank Apos Audio for providing the unit for review. There will be an affiliate link to their website in the pinned comment and in the video description if you are interested in acquiring one of these. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that video. Hopefully you'd be willing to give me a like and your subscription. That would count a lot. I'd like to thank all my channel members, my subscribers, and my viewers. You guys have supported me wonderfully, and thank you so much for that. As mentioned, there will be an affiliate link to this in the pinned comment and in the video description. There will also be a link to the channel membership in the pinned comment and in the video description. In the video description itself will be a title and a Qobuz link to the playlist. There are some affiliate links in the video description. You guys know that. Please comment, let me know. Oh, I forgot to mention, check out the community post playlist. That's a link in there in the video description. Please comment, let me know where you're at. I know I'm going to have a million questions about Class D and GAN FET and that kind of stuff. Given the price point for this amplifier and the way I describe the way I use it, that is how I would recommend it. I'm not going to tell you this is going to drive a pair of Magnepans. I'm not going to tell you this is going to drive a big pair of Philharmonic speakers. That's not what it's designed for. Its compact size makes it perfect for a desktop, makes it perfect for a small room system, maybe a system for one of your kids going off to college, maybe even, a den, a small listening room, something like that. That is what this is perfect for, and it does sound really good. So anyway, comment, let me know your thoughts. That's all of the details I think I need to cover in this video. So please like, subscribe, comment, follow me on Instagram if you want to. My name is Ed Homewood. This is the Old Guy Hi-Fi channel, and you guys are probably sick of hearing me say it, but it is now your obligation to yourself. Put on some beautiful music, sit back, relax, and just enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. I do appreciate it.